Hello YouTube, Otaku here. I'm not feeling the greatest, but I did promise you last video that I'd start this off with a smile, so bam. I will be your personal narrator for today. Oh gosh, this video already started with a bit of technical issues. Please have your water on standby. I'm going to be taking this first. If you have not been here before, I'll please direct you over to the channel description so you get a better idea of who and what this channel is about. Now, we will be getting back into it with page 342, The Grapes of Wrath, at chapter 23. Oh, how far we've come during this time, and I'm very grateful to be here. Alright. Well, if you have been here before, let's begin the eucalyptus inhalation ritual. Clink, clink, clink. I believe I remember where we left off. And the people listened, and their faces were quiet with listening. The storytellers, gathering attention in their tales, spoke in great rhymes, spoke in great words, because the tales were great, and the listeners became great through them. There was a brave on a ridge against the sun. Notes he stood out, spread his arms and stood, naked as morning, and against the sun. Maybe he was crazy, I don't know. Stood there, arms spread out like a cross he looked. 400 yards, and the men, well, they raised their sides and they felt the wind with their fingers. Page 343. And then they just laid there and couldn't shoot. Maybe Indians knows we couldn't shoot just laying there with the rifles cocked, and didn't even put them to our shoulders. Looked at them, headbands, one feather, could see it, and naked as the sun. Long time we laid there and looked, and he never moved. And then the captain got mad. "Shoot, you crazy bastards, shoot," he yelled, and we just laid there. "I'll give you to the count of 5, and then mark you down." The captain says, "Well, sir, we put up our rifles slow, and even the men hoped somebody shoots first. Ain't never been so sad in my life." And I laid my sights on his belly, 'cause you couldn't even stop an Indian for no other place. And then, well, he just plugged down and rolled. And we went up, and he wasn't big. He looked so grand up there, all tore to pieces and little. Even seen a cock pleasant. Ever seen a cock pleasant? Stiff and beautiful. Every feather drawn and painted, and even his eyes true and pretty. And bang, picked him up, bloody and twisted, and you spoiled something in her, and you eat him. You don't never make it up to you, 'cause you spoiled something in yourself, and you can never fix it up. And the people nodded, and perhaps the fire spurred a little light and showed their eyes looking in on themselves. Against the sun, with his arms out, and he looked big as God. And perhaps a man balanced 20 cents between food and pleasure. And he went to the movie in Marysville and Tullier and Ceres or the Mountain View. And he came back to the ditch camp with his memory crowded. And he told how it was. There was this rich fella, and he makes like he's poor. And there's this rich girl, and she pretends like she's poor too. And they meet at the hamburger stand. Why? I don't know why. That's just how it was. Why are they pretending like they poor? Well, they're tired of being rich. Horse shit. You want to hear this or not? Go on then. Sure, I want to hear it. But if I was rich, I'd get so many damn pork chops, I'd record them up all up and down like wood. And I'd eat my way out. Go on then. Page 344. Well, They each think the other one's poor, and they each get arrested, and they go to jail, and then they don't get out because the other one finds out the other one was rich. And the jailkeeper, he means them because he thinks they're poor. I ought to seen how he looks when he finds out they're just nearly faints. That's all. Why'd they get in jail for? Well, they get because at some kind of radical meeting, but they ain't radicals. They just happen to be there, and they don't each one to marry for money. You see, ugh. Even these country words got me a bit of a stir. They just happen to be there, and they don't even know each other, but they want to marry each other for money. You see. No, I'm not saying that right. Hold on. They just happen to be there, and they don't each one want to marry for money, you see? There we go. They don't each one want to marry for money. So I guess they're like rich and they don't want the other person to care or know they got money like that? I don't fucking know. That took too long. So the sons of bitches started lying to each other right off? Well, in the picture, it was like they wasn't doing no good. They're nice to people, you see. I was to a show once that was me and more my life and more in my life, so everything was bigger. Well, I got enough sense. I'd like to get away from it. Sure, if you could believe it. So they got married, and then they found out and all them people they treated was mean. There was a fella that had been uppity, and he nearly fainted when this fella come up with the plug hat on. Just nearly fainted. And then there was this news drill with them German soldiers kicking up their feet. Funny as hell. And always, if he had a little money, a man could get drunk. The hard edges gone and the warmth, then there was no loneliness. For there was no loneliness. For a man could people his brain with friends, and he could find his enemies and destroy them. Sitting in a ditch, the earth grew soft under him. Failures dulled, and the future was no threat. And hunger did not stalk about, but the world was soft and easy, and a man could reach the place he started for. The stars came down wonderfully close, and the sky was soft. Death was a friend, and sleep was the death's brother. The old times came back, and dear and warm. A girl with pretty feet who danced one time at home, a horse. A long time ago, a horse and a saddle, and the leather was curved. When was that? ? Oughta to find a girl to talk to. That's nice. Might lay with her too, but warm here, and the stars down so close, and sadness and pleasure so close together. Really the same thing. Like to stay drunk all the time. Who says it's bad? ? Who dares to say it's bad? ? Preachers. But they got their own kind of drunkenness. Thin, barren women. But they're too miserable to know. Reformers. But they don't bite deep enough into living to know. No. The stars were close and dear, and I had to join the brotherhood of the worlds. And everything's holy. Everything. Even me. At the top of page 345, I'm going to smoke real quick. This is weird. These chapters are always weird. Talking about people being God and stuff. Like, I think I get what they were trying to say, but at the same time, it was like, out of conjecture, I think is the right word for it. Like, a lot of up for debate about what the true connotations of these meanings are. I don't know. Perhaps I'm reading too deep into it, but I don't think that people should really be going around acting like that. I think it was cool for the man to sit there and say his thoughts, but to actually, refer to the man as like, and he stood up there like God. That's pretty crazy work. Well, I'm going to smoke this and we'll continue. Life is pretty crazy sometimes. always find more in this life. Alright, let's continue. A harmonica was easy to carry. A harmonica, okay, was easy to carry. Take it out of your hip pocket, knock it against your palm to shake out the dirt, pocket fuzz, and bits of tobacco. Now it's ready. You can do anything with a harmonica. Thin, really single tones or chords or melody with rhythm chords. You can mold the music with curvy hands. With rhythm chords, you can mold the music with curvy hands, making it wail and cry like bagpipes. Make it full and round like an organ. Make it sharp and bitter like a real pipe of the hills. And you can play and put it back in your pocket. It is always with you, always in your pocket. And as you play, you learn new tricks, new ways to mold the tune with your hands, to pitch the tone with your lips, and no one teaches you. You feel around, sometimes alone in the shade of noon, sometimes in the tent door after supper when the women are washing up. Your foot taps gently on the ground, your eyebrows rise and fall in rhythm. And if you lose it or break it, why, it's no great loss. You could buy another one for $0.25. A guitar is more precious. Must learn this thing. Fingers of the left hand must have calluses caps. Thumbs of the right hand, a horn of calluses. Stretch the left hand fingers. Stretch them like a spider's legs to get the hard pads on the frets. This was my father's box. Wasn't no bigger a bug's first time he gave me C chord. And when I learned as good as him, he hardly never played no more. Used to sit in the door and listen to tap his foot. I'm trying for a break. And he scoured me until I got her. And then he settled back easy and he nodded. Play, he'll say. Play nice. It's a good box. See how the head is worn? There's many a million songs worn down that wood and scoped her out. Someday she'll cave in like an egg. But you can't patch her no way, or she'll lose tone. Play her in the evening, and there's a harmonica player in this next tent. Maybe it's pretty nice together. The fiddle is rare, hard to learn. No frets, no teacher. Just listen to an old man and trying to pick it up. Wouldn't tell how to double, says it's a secret. But I watched. Here's how it's done. Shrill as the wind, the fiddle, quick and nervous and shrill. She ain't much of a fiddle. Give $2 for her. Fella says there's fiddles 400 years old, and they get mellow like whiskey. Says they cost $50,000-$60,000. I don't know, sounds like a lie. Harsh old bastard, ain't she? Wanna dance? I'll rub up the bow with the plenty rosin. Man, she'll squawk, hearing her a mile away. These three in the evening, harmonica and fiddle and guitar playing a reel and tapping out the tune, and the big deep strings of the guitar beat like a heart, and the harmonica sharp chords and the shrill and squeals of the fiddle. People had to move close, they can't help it. Chicken reel. Now that the feet tap and that the young lean buck takes 3 quick steps and his arms bang limp. The square comes close and the dancing starts. Feet on the bare ground, beating dull, strike with their heels, hands round and swinging, hair falls down in panting breaths. Lean to the side now. Look at that Texas boy, long legs loose, tats 4 times for every damn step. Never seen a boy swing around like that. Look at him swing that Cherokee girl, red in her cheeks and her tippy toes out. Look at her pants. Look at her heave. Think she tired? Think she winded? Well, she ain't. Texas boy got his hair in his eyes, mouth wide open, can't get air, but he pats 4 times for every darn step, and he'll keep it going with the Cherokee girl. The fiddle squawks and the guitar bongs, mouth organs mouth organ man is red in the face. Texas boy and the Cherokee girl panting like dogs and beating the ground. Old folks start to pant in their hands, smiling a little, tapping their feet. Back home in the schoolhouse, the big moon sailed off in the westward, and we walked, him and me, a little ways. Didn't talk 'cause our throats was choked up. Didn't talk none at all. And pretty soon, there was a haycock. Went right to it and laid down there. Seeing the Texas boy and that girl is stepping away into the dark. Think nobody's seen him go? Oh, God, I wish I was going with that Texas boy. Moon'll be up before long. I seen that girl's old man move out and stop him. And then he did it. He knowed. Might as well stop the fall from coming. And might as well stop the sap from moving the trees. And the moon will stop before long. Play more. Play the story songs as I walk through the streets of Laredo. The fire grows dull. Be ashamed to build her up. Little old moon being up before long. Beside an irrigation ditch, a preacher labored and the people cried. And the preacher paced like a tiger, whipping the people with his voice, and they growled and whined on the ground. He calculated them, gauged them, played on them, and when they were all squirming on the ground, he stood up, and his great strength he picked each one up with his arms and shouted, "Take 'em, Christ," and threw each one of them in the water. And when they were all in, waist deep in the water, and looking with frightened eyes at the master, he kneeled down at the bank and prayed for them. And he prayed that all the men and women might grovel and whine on the ground. Men and women dripping, clothes sticking tight, watched them gargling and sloshing in their shoes as they walked back to the camp, to the tents, and they talked softly in wonder. "We've been saved," they said. "We're washed white as snow. We will never sin again." And the children, frightened and wet, whispered together, "We've been saved. We won't sin no more." Wish I know what all that sin was, so I could do it to them. The immigrant people looked humbly for pleasure on the roads. Hold up, what the fuck? Beside the irrigation ditch, a preacher labored. The people cried, and the preacher paced like a tiger, whipping the people with his voice, and they grovelled and whined on the ground. He calculated them, gauged them, played on them, and when they were all squirming on the ground, he scooped up. In his great strength, he picked each one of them up by his arms and shouted, "Take 'em, Christ," and threw each one of them in water. Okay, so all he was doing was really just aggressively preaching to him, and then he threw them in like waist-deep water. Which isn't too bad. Waist-deep water will, bring a pretty good impact. Damn. Alright, anyways, the immigrant people looked humbly for pleasure on the roads. Okay. 348, chapter 24. See, that's why I really don't like those chapters, because what was all that? Basically, you get the talks of how people communicated with each other. Even the, Texas boy and the Cherokee girl went to go fuck, and then this preacher over here saving these people by throwing them in water. Man, people were strange back then. People are strange now, don't get me wrong, but I guess no matter what point in history, you're always going to find those weirdos in life. That's a good hit. Let's see, we got less than 5 minutes. Let's do this. God, I really hope we get back to the Joels, but from the looks of it, no. I don't know what this chapter is going to be about. Let's find out together. Chapter 24, 348. On Saturday morning, the wash roads were crowded. The women washed dresses, pink ginghams, and flowered cottons. They hung them in the sun and stretched the cloth to smooth it. When afternoon came to, the whole camp quickened, and the people grew excited. The children caught the fever and were more noisy as usual. About mid-afternoon, children bathed together, and as soon as each child was caught, subdued, and washed, the noise on the playground gradually subsided. Before 5, the children were scrubbed and warned about getting dirty again, and they walked about, stiff in clean clothes, miserable with carefulness. At the big open-air dance platforms, a committee was busy. Every bit of electric wire had been requestioned. The city dump had been visited for wire. I'm gonna have to take that in right fast. Apologies. Bingo. If I didn't find it during that last flip, I would have continued on. RequisionEd. Yeah, I should be looking that word. The city dump had been visited for wire. Every toolbox had contributed friction tape, and now the patched, split wire was strung out to the dance floor. With bottlenecks as insulators, this night the floor would be lighted for the first time. By 6 o'clock, the men were back for work and were looking for work. And from looking for work, a new wave of bathing started. By 7, dinners were over. Men had on their best clothes, freshly washed overalls, clean blue shirts, sometimes the decent blacks. The girls were ready in their print dresses, stretched and cleaned, their hair braided and ribboned. The worried women watched the families and cleaned up the evening dishes. On the platform, the string band practiced, surrounded by the double wall of children. The people were intent and excited. In the tent of Ezra Hudson, chairman, this central committee of 5 men went into meeting. Hudson, a tall, spare man, wind blackened, his eyes like little blades, spoke to his committee, 1 man from each sanitary unit. It's goddamn lucky we got this word they were going to try to bust up the dance, he said. The tubby little representative from Unit 3 spoke up. I think we ought to squash the hell out of them and show them. Ollie did it because, he's the rubbery little representative. No, said Hudson. That's what they want. No, sir. If they could get a fight going, then they could run up the cops and say we ain't orderly. They tried it before, in other places. He turned to the sad, dark boy from Unit 2. Got the fellas together to go around the fences and see nobody sneaking in? The sad boy nodded. Yeah, 12. Told him not to hit nobody. Just push him out in again. Hudson said, will you go out and find Willie Eden? His chairman is the entertainment, ain't he? Yeah? Well, tell him we want to see him. The boy went out and returned in a moment with a stringy Texas man. Willie Easton had a long, fragile jaw and dust-colored hair. His arms and legs were long and loose, and he had a gray, sunburned eyes of the panhandle. He stood in the tent grinning, and his hands pivoted restlessly on his wrist. Hudson said, you heard about tonight? Willie grinned. Yeah? You doing anything about it? Yeah? Tell what you done. Willie Easton grinned happily. Well, sir, orderly entertainment committee is 5. I got 20 more, all good, strong boys. They're going to be doing a dancing and keeping their eye on, their ears open. First sign, any talk or argument, they close it tight. Worked her out pretty nice. Can't even see nothing. Kind of moved out, and the fellas will go out with them. Tell them they ain't gonna hurt the fellas. Willie laughed gleefully. I told him. Well, tell them so they'll know. Again. They know. Got 5 men out of the gate looking over the folks that come in, trying to spot them before they get started. Hudson stood up. His steel-colored eyes were stern. Now you look here, Willie. We don't want them fellas hurt. They're going to be deputies out by the front gate. If you bloody them up, why, them deputies will get you, and me, and everybody else. Page 350. Oh, it looks like it's all our time, y'all. Guess I'll take one more smoke. Click, click, click. Alright, y'all take care. Peace.